PMI São Paulo Summit 2025. Hello, everyone. My name is Graciane. I'll be the host today. I'm a project manager. I volunteer for São Paulo chapter, PMI São Paulo chapter. I'm very excited to be here. I have a few housekeeping items. I would say we're going to check for questions in 20 minutes. And see and answer some questions if you have it. Also, the session is being recorded and the recording will be shared afterwards. So today I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Derek Beck. He's founder and CEO of Blue Summit. Derek is a 20-year US Navy veteran. Hi, right, Derek. Holds an MBA, multiple certifications, including PMP, CPMAI, PMI, ACP, his Black Belt Sigma, so and more. Derek, welcome. We're excited to have you here. So I will start, Derek. Can you introduce yourself first and share a little bit about your experience and your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, as you said, I'm in the U.S. Navy for 20 years and worked in the government for a few more years after that. You know, I did a lot of things as far as organizational change and process improvement, process engineering, project program management. That was pretty much my role for my time in the service and even after. And, you know, my first introduction to AI probably came in, I would say 2008, when I was part of a team that did some testing for real-time language translation software and other technologies that came after that. And then I was, you know, in charge of groups that would have to implement these technologies, you know, across our organizations that we were in. And so, you know, I've had an interest in technology and that kind of stuff. I'm kind of an early adopter as well. Since, you know, for forever. I'm from California, originally Silicon Valley. So I think it's kind of deeply ingrained in my DNA for technology and experimentation. And yeah, so that was kind of my background there. I am not an AI engineer. I'm not a software developer necessarily by trade. I know just enough about it to be dangerous. I'm more of the practitioner. I'm more of that organizational leader, that project and program manager that would be tasked to handle these things, right, and implement them across the organization and do it successfully.
Yeah, like some curiosity. So how I met Derek, we were both in the Global Summit in Phoenix. We were having lunch. That's a big, huge, like 5,000 people around. And then he sat in the table that I was sitting and we just started talking about AI, right? So that was a very interesting topic. And you're like having dinner and having lunch and talking. So thank you so much for talking to the PMI São Paulo, accepting the invite. We are very excited to talk our topic today, right? So we are talking about AI reality check. So we talk about why skills, structure, and strategy matter. The first thing, the next one, of course, can you share a little bit of your journey about the CPMAI certificate?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it first was announced that PMI was acquiring Cognilytica and they were going to launch this CPMAI certification, I immediately signed up for the training because even in our own business, we're small, but we integrate AI and we implement AI tools and we're still, even as we get more mature as an organization with AI, right? And as capabilities improve, we're constantly, you know, integrating this even more and even deeper into our operations. And so I thought, hey, let me take a look at this. One, to see if this is going to be different than, you know, Discipline Agile was with its launch and you know, its evolution. I wanted to kind of see where it might fit also in the world of certifications, in the world of AI training, and with the PMI ecosystem. So I was very curious for a lot of reasons. And what I found was that it was essential. The training that you receive when you go through that in preparation for certification to follow the training um, is gold, and it's so important because AI is everywhere, and it's not just everywhere in our phones and on our TVs and on our other devices that are always on that I cannot say their names, otherwise they will come to life on me right now. But I'm thinking of Amazon A and Apple S, right? I can't say their names, but it's even in the workplace, and it doesn't matter if you're in construction, it doesn't matter if you're in high tech, it doesn't matter if you're in HR. You're going to have to come across this technology either as a practitioner for yourself and personal usage, or you're going to be tasked with rolling out enterprise wide these tools. And it's no different than a task to say like an enterprise resource planning system, an ERP system, um, right? As far as the task is concerned, however, they come with their own unique challenges, and so that's kind of how I came across CPMAI. That's kind of what I took away from CPMAI, and immediately recognized that as an authorized training partner ourselves at Blue Summit, that we needed to be able to provide this because we're heavily involved in workforce development. Our mission is prepare our clients for the future of work. And this is the future of work, especially within the realm of project management.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I just started my journey too. I'm like, we have like 6 steps for the methodology. I'm just in the business understanding right now, and I'm very excited. I'm learning a lot. I'm very excited to take the exam soon when I'm feel prepared, and a lot of new topics and how deep we go. We learn AI in this training, so it's awesome. So let's talk about AI more specific. So how do you see like this success AI? How will you be succeed adopting AI in projects? What's your opinion about that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why AI projects fail. I think MIT, the Massachusetts Institute for Technology, released a study back in July of this year where they said 95% of all AI projects are failing, and there's a whole host of reasons for that, right? And one of the things that I find funny to say is that you should always start your project aligning it with the organizational goals and strategic direction. There should be a business problem that you're trying to solve, and I feel like that's true no matter what project you're running. But it becomes more important to think about it with AI. I think because you have a large sense of a feeling of urgency that you have to do AI, and we have to do AI now. It's very similar to the agile stuff, but even faster, right? And so, but what does that mean, right? Do AI or to use it? And so, a lot of times, what we're doing and what a lot of organizations are doing who are immature in their AI sort of practices is that they're not aligning it with a business goal. The leadership is just saying, do it because it should benefit us without going any deeper into that and saying, why would it benefit us? And that kind of stuff, right? And so you end up with a problem where leadership doesn't know the difference between, say, AI, augmented intelligence is what I like to say right now, but artificial intelligence and robotic process automation. And there's a lot of times where the business problem can be solved with basic rule-based automations, and you don't actually need to invest all that money in AI. In a lot of cases. And so just having the understanding of the difference between those two terms, I think will, go a long way towards success. But the other part is change management. What I found too is that it's not in the MIT report as to why these projects fail, but when you really dig deep, it's not usually a technical issue. It's usually a regulatory issue that crops up on the technical side, but a large problem is the people side of change. And so I think the topics that have PMI is really focused on this on the last 3 years now at the PMI Global is change management, organizational change management. If you go to brightline.org, the PMI site that talks about organizational change management, digital transformation strategies, that becomes really important for us as project managers too. So now, not only do we need to know the technical issues related to AI and machine learning and deep learning and the tools associated with AI that we have to implement, we need to become also very aware of organizational change management strategies and the skill sets involved with that, because that is a whole different set of skills from the standard project management that we would learn too. And so I think that's where it becomes really important for us to be successful in this area. So CPMAI is one part of that puzzle. The PMP, the CPMAI, and then if you have some kind of organizational change background or training, you'll become a powerhouse, I think, as a project manager in this space.
Yeah, let's go to my next question. I'm very curious about you as the president and CEO of a Blue Summit Consult Group. What do the leaders need to have or need to have to be prepared for the future, for AI revolution? Because you're changing the era right now. Is another breakdown in the area, right? So what they need to have or they need to learn, or, the toolkit the leaders need for the AI revolution.
Yeah, I think so. I think executive leaders, especially, need to have a much broader understanding of AI and what is actually, how things kind of work a little bit under the hood, but more so really understanding the difference between AI and robotic process automation and being able to tie it to the different use cases to be able to solve your problem sets. And then you can prioritize some of your portfolios and your other initiatives and your programs and that kind of stuff too, because you can really say, okay, well, these are all the problems that we are facing as a business and the challenges, and here's where we would believe that AI or automation might be able to help solve those. And then you can start to then really calculate the return on investment. And I think a lot of people struggle with that return on investment is, how do I quantify the improvement from an AI initiative, right? So for example, how do you quantify the value of putting a chatbot on a website or something like that, right? And so, it just comes down to, if you understand what business problem you're trying to solve, then it actually becomes very easy, because we say if we install this chatbot system, that can handle the 17,000 tier 1 basic requests that then saves so many staff hours a day, a week, or whatever. And now how much that costs, right? How much the 17,000 staff hours cost you as an organization. And so I think being able to quantify the ROI and the expectation of the ROI helps with accountability. It helps with value tracking, right? And value creation. And then you can really assess whether or not the initiative, hit the mark for you, or if it did not. And I think that helps, because one of the challenges right now too, and the reason why projects will fail is that lack of understanding what ROI should be from a quantitative perspective.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Yeah, and the business problem too, right? So they talk about understanding what do you need to solve, what you need to solve in your business. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Let's see if you have any questions in the chat. If not, we can keep going. I'm not seeing here, but anyways, let's move on. So for the takeaways for our discussion today, so we talk about the skills you have, the structure, strategy. So you mentioned the certifications is a very good path, and you bring all together, right? You have the knowledge, you have PMP, CPMAI, any other AI certificate. We also talk about the leadership skills, how to be prepared, especially the booming, right? The AI happening right now. So many tools, so many information. What is any other thing you wanna give as a message to the audience about AI?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, I want to reiterate that as a project manager, I really recommend the CPMAI certification. Because you don't have to be building a model from scratch or working with OpenAI or Facebook or Meta or any of these other big tech companies to have for this to be relevant. In fact, it's probably more relevant that we understand this just as general practitioners too, because you may even just be implementing it for yourself, right? I think by 2030, Gartner study says that by 2030, 80% of all our project management tasks will be run by AI, right? And so um, we need to get ahead of that because only, I think, as of last year, only 8 to 16% of project managers that reported to surveys even said they had a good knowledge or experience using AI, not just doing AI projects, but even using AI. And so it's a workforce imperative across the world. It's happening very, very quickly. I know in the U.S., I have numbers for the U.S., but I've also seen the numbers are very similar globally, because things are just moving so rapidly. And we've seen these changes over the years, right? As new technology comes in. I mean, think when cars were invented and when the plane was invented, things like that will change the way we do business and the way we work and the way we interact. But with AI, we're talking in a scope of 1 to 3 years from today. Nearly 60% of the workforce across the world has to be retrained in their core skills just to stay competitive in the jobs that they currently have. And that doesn't even address the issue of jobs that will be displaced. There are a lot of jobs that will, change in the nature. There are a lot of jobs that will actually go away. And there will be new jobs that crop up that people have to then move towards. And it's going to all involve AI. And I would also just be prepared for the fact that I think within the next 6 to 12 months, we'll be seeing a lot of changes that we aren't even prepared for mentally right now. I think within the next couple of years, we're going to be disrupted in a way that the Apple did with the iPhone, if you remember that, right? It changed the way we communicate and engage. And I think we're about to see another revolution in that space where the way we compute, the way we interact with our computers, the way we get work done, and the way we interact with each other, human to human, is going to change pretty dramatically. And it's going to be centered around contextual awareness, like an always on contextual awareness and connection with AI. Especially as these companies, these big companies build out these massive data centers all around the globe, and everything becomes even more connected than we know about today. And so, yeah, so I would say, you're not necessarily going to lose your job because of AI. I mean, some people might, but you're definitely going to lose out to the people who know how to leverage AI to their advantage and to their benefit so they can work faster, smarter, and more efficiently, and become more effective in the process. And so, and then, oh, okay, one last thing. My last actual bit of advice is when you're using AI as a practitioner, just remember that it's not going to make you an automatic expert in all things. So, AI is really good at making you look even better in the areas where you're already have some expertise and some experience. It can help you learn new things, but it's really going to exploit your weaknesses if you try to pretend to be an expert in an area where you're not actually an expert yet, right? It can help you work towards that expertise, but it's not going to make you one overnight, right? And so, when we implement these tools, think the human condition. There's a lot of people who are afraid of it. There's a lot of people who don't trust it. There's a lot of people who will fight against it. And so that's the organizational change part. And just understand that it's rational, it's normal, expect it, just think through the barriers and provide your people with training to get over it.
Yeah. And just starting the AI journey, right? Just let's do small steps, like CPMAI says. Just start with small steps. You can see the big picture, but start with small steps. Yeah, that's awesome. So if you want to learn more, please follow Derek on LinkedIn. We can share the link. So as I said, it's gonna be it's being recorded, and we're gonna share the record with you guys. And I hope you guys have learned something. You guys have been encouraged to start your journey in AI, right? Start learning. And thank you so much, Derek, for participating in the PMI São Paulo Summit 2025. So that's awesome. And I hope you can keep in touch and we can keep like learning from you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the invite for everybody and Brazil and PMI São Paulo. Obrigado.
Thanks so much. See you soon. Thank you all for participating. See you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.